Oh, how awful. Did he at least die painlessly? To shreds, you say? Very well then. Good news, everyone!
Nothing to see here, folks. Just the internet casually celebrating a cold-blooded murder. So in case you've been living under a rock, a huge story is breaking the internet right now because UnitedHealthcare CEO, one of the biggest health insurance companies in the US, Brian Thompson, was just gunned down in Manhattan in a really chilling assassination that was captured on video, which of course I'm not going to show you here, but it's pretty disturbing stuff. The investigation is still ongoing, so we're still speculating about the shooter and the motive and all that, but many people suspect it has something to do with the controversial policies of the insurance company, but we don't know that for certain. Thankfully, though, the discourse online has been pretty rational and reasonable with Americans, no matter how they feel about the complicated web that is US healthcare policy, coming together to just agree that, like, murdering a family man and a father of two isn't good. Just kidding. They've kind of done the opposite. On TikTok in particular, the CEO's murder has been celebrated like some sort of happy or positive event. We're going to take a look at a couple of videos doing the rounds with this sentiment that are kind of horrifying, honestly.
I woke up this morning to finding out the most corrupt CEO in America got fucking assassinated in the middle of the street like a medieval king.
It's weird to sound gleeful about an assassination. And do you actually have any reason to believe that UnitedHealth CEO Brian Thompson was the most corrupt CEO in America, or are you just saying that?
But he got put down like he was a witch. As soon as I saw that video, I knew for a fact that was the worst person I've ever seen that just got shot like that. I didn't know anything about him before that.
Hold up, you just admitted you didn't know anything about this man until 5 seconds ago, but you're celebrating his death and labeling him the most corrupt CEO in America. The math here is not mathing.
But I just knew. I fucking knew. Nobody's getting put down in the street like a dog like that without there being like a very probably valid reason.
Did he just suggest that if somebody gets killed in the street in a particular fashion, that must mean they're bad? The logic there doesn't follow. I mean, lots of people have been assassinated, including Martin Luther King Jr. Doesn't mean they were inherently bad. That somebody who was assassinated could be bad, even if they're assassinated in this kind of manner. That doesn't actually tell us anything about them. Like, what is this logic?
If you're wondering what the reason is that he got put down like a dog in the middle of the street, look at these denial rates of his insurance company.
So you actually don't know that. I mean, it may well be because of somebody was upset with his company's policies, but we don't know that for sure yet. And it's kind of irresponsible to speculate as a social media influencer about these kinds of things without evidence.
How are you even able to deny 36% of people from healthcare that they're already paying for?
He literally had the graph right in front of him that says 32% and went out here and said 36%. But I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, but I think even if this insurance company was really stingy and denied people's claims unfairly a lot, which we don't know just because they denied a high percentage of claims, that could be true, I still wouldn't support the CEO being murdered in cold blood. Like, that's actually bad. Maybe if they're doing something criminal, they should be prosecuted. Maybe people should switch to other companies or boycott them if their business practices are unfair. But it's still not okay to justify murdering somebody. And it's worth pointing out that almost nobody ever appeals, like a single-digit percentage ever appeals these denials, even though when they do, they almost always win. Some of this might be valid frustration with the company being stingy, but I've talked to a couple people who work at UHC, and they've also told me that a lot of this high denial rate stems from people not understanding what the insurance they purchased actually covers, and they are submitting claims for things that their policy simply does not cover. Obviously, that has to be rejected. They don't have leeway about that. Again, I'm not here to defend insurance companies or tell you that they're like the best thing in the world, but it seems like many of these influencers celebrating this dude's death don't actually know anything about this company and are just kind of hopping on a socialist bandwagon to celebrate an assassination because they hate capitalism and just inherently hate businesses. That's kind of deranged. Guys, the internet's take on this story only gets more crazy, and we're going to dive into it. But first, a quick message from today's sponsor. Guys, I recently recommitted to a new health and fitness routine. Can you tell? And I'm doing that with the help of today's sponsor, Lumen, which is helping me increase my energy levels, feel better in my body, and gain muscle. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a cool and easy to use device that measures your metabolism through your breath. And on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and gives you tailored advice to improve your workouts, nutrition, stress management, and even your sleep. Because your metabolism is at the center of everything your body does, optimal metabolic health translates to a bunch of benefits, including easier weight management, improved energy levels, better fitness results, and better sleep. Lumen doesn't just help you measure your metabolic health, it also gives you meal suggestions and other ideas to improve it. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health or get a great gift for the health-conscious person in your life, go to lumen.me/Brad for 15% off your Lumen. That is lumen.me/Brad for 15% off your purchase, also available at the link in the description or in the pinned comment. And now, back to the show. So this young man seems lovely and stable, but he was far from the only one on the internet to literally celebrate the assassination of Brian Thompson. Here's some more videos.
I think we all needed some good news today. Obviously, I would never publicly condone violence of any kind, but I don't think anyone should feel bad about this.
Oh, I love how he says, I would never publicly condone violence. Like the only reason he wouldn't do it publicly is because he might get in trouble or backlash. He's saying, yeah, I totally do condone violence. I just can't really say it publicly. You know, TikTok I might get in trouble. It's like, so you're admitting you actually do support violence. And am I crazy, or are assassinations of random citizens bad? Like calling that good news, no matter how you feel about insurance companies or US healthcare policy, which is incredibly complicated and definitely broken in large part by government rules and regulations. It's just sick and weird to celebrate the cold-blooded murder of a businessman and call it good news.
The entire business model of private health insurance companies, especially UnitedHealthcare, is to prey on the most vulnerable people in society.
Not quite. The business model of private insurance is risk pooling, making it so that a bunch of people can pay into a system, and then in the small percentage of cases where they have huge astronomical expenses, insurance can cover it, rather than everyone just having to kind of roll the dice and then potentially being screwed with huge medical bills. Now, that basic system has been broken, I think, in many ways to incredibly dysfunctional results, but the enterprise of private insurance is not illegitimate or inherently evil. It's actually kind of fulfilling an important need. And the most vulnerable people in society, by which I assume he means the destitute or the disabled, don't typically purchase private health insurance. They're typically covered through government programs like Medicare or Medicaid. Other than that, though, you're doing amazing.
It is companies like this and people like this guy that are the reason why healthcare is so insanely unaffordable in this country.
Yeah, no. Insurance companies might contribute to the problem in some ways, but the actual healthcare services are incredibly expensive. And that's a problem that exists before the insurance companies come in and have to pay the bills for people. We could get into the many extremely complicated ways in which US healthcare policy is broken and explain why the cost of healthcare is so astronomically expensive in the United States. But the insurance companies come in at the paying end. Once those costs have already been accrued, the reason things are so expensive, I mean, it might have some involvement, but is not primarily due to insurance companies. I'm just kind of struck by the comfortableness and confidence with which these people are proclaiming and celebrating the death of somebody while also demonstrating kind of profound ignorance about how this stuff even works. And some of them seem to be pretty openly suggesting additional targets for assassination.
Hey, remember that time Bill Burr pointed out that the Nestle CEO believes that water isn't a human right? Something to think about today. No particular reason.
Hello, FBI. Yeah, we have TikTokers suggesting additional targets on the hit list for this assassin. Like, this is not normal. This is not a stable, rational person's contribution to political discourse. Like, maybe you hate the US healthcare system. Maybe you want socialized government health insurance. Let's have that debate. But wanting the CEO of a water company assassinated because you don't like something he said is unhinged. It's not normal to want to murder the people you disagree with, or to want them and their families to suffer in pain like this next TikToker does.
Oh, how awful. Did he at least die painlessly? To shreds, you say? Well, how is his wife holding up? To shreds, you say? Very well then. Good news, everyone!
Y'all are giving demonic. So now it's not even just this man whose death you're celebrating and hoping it was painful, but also his wife? Like, I don't know how to explain to you guys that when you're cheering for assassinations of private business people who, as far as I'm aware, haven't broken any laws, we're not talking about leaders of terrorist groups who carried out attacks or something like that. You're not the good guy in the situation. Let me say that I think people may well have valid frustrations or hatred for some of these insurance companies. I know a lot of people have bad experiences with them where their claims are unfairly denied or what have you, and I'm not delegitimizing that necessarily. All I'm saying is that even if the CEO was the boogeyman they're making him out to be, even if this was a horrible company, the solution to that is not assassinations or cold-blooded murder in the streets and celebrating violence against your fellow citizens. It's to advocate for policy change, it's to pursue criminal charges if crimes are being committed, or it's to boycott or divest from companies with harmful business practices, not to start shooting people and cheering about it on the internet. That's disgusting and deranged, no matter what your perspective or how you feel about the issues. And while I admit the limits of my knowledge about the US health insurance industry, and like some of these TikTokers, I hadn't heard this guy's name until this happened, I've done a little bit of reading about it over the last 24 hours, and I'm not sure this dude is the boogeyman villain they're making him out to be. It sounds like within the health insurance industry and within his company, he was viewed as a really good person, an excellent boss who cared about his employees and really was dedicated to trying to make healthcare accessible. They also keep painting this boogeyman of UHC as this evil corporation that's profiting and just denying everyone's claims to dance in money piles. In reality, he was being paid $10 million, which for a CEO of a large company isn't that much. And even if he was paid $0 and all 10 million went to paying out claims, that's like a tiny decimal rounding point in terms of a difference it would make. And even the company ran a 6% net profit margin. That's not that much. That's way lower than tons of companies in tons of industries. Maybe they were stingy with their claims. Like, I don't know. But people also apparently failed to take advantage of the avenues that they had to contest those decisions. And I think if you're going to blame Brian Thompson or UHC for the cases in which the people didn't get the healthcare they needed and they died, you also have to give them credit for all the far more cases where they did provide healthcare for people and pay for it, and those people got life-saving treatments. Like, I'm not saying this guy should get a Nobel Peace Prize, but I'm not sure that the world is as black and white and cookie cutter morality as he was just unambiguously evil, like these people are making him out to be. I think it's probably a lot more complicated than that. And I also think the frustration with the US healthcare system belongs much more at the feet of policymakers who have written rules and regulations and passed programs that have just broken and effed up this industry beyond repair, not with the players in the game who don't get to decide the rules. Unfortunately, it wasn't just on TikTok where many left-wing people were celebrating this murder and engaging in all sorts of unhinged discourse. This was also the case across Twitter and its liberal imitator, Blue Sky. Mike Figueroa, the commentator who goes by Humanist Report, tweeted, F his family, too. Yeah, his 2 sons are the worst and just deserve terrible things to happen to them as well because you disagree with the business of their father. What? Meanwhile, the left-wing journalist turned activist Taylor Lorenz, formerly of the Washington Post and the New York Times, posted on Blue Sky that in her group chats they were spamming a meme of a smiling star, a bunch of balloons and thumbs up that says, CEO down, which suggests to me that you're friends with some strange and unhinged people, babe. Here's where Taylor really crossed the line, though, in my book. She responded to this ongoing news story about the assassination of a healthcare industry CEO by posting the name and photo of another industry CEO, like basically suggesting, get this person next. I don't know that that quite crosses the line into criminal territory, but it gets kind of close and is honestly just unhinged to be like encouraging assassins and telling them go here next. Remember, this is somebody who until very recently, when she went independent, was a star reporter for the Washington Post, was heralded by the media industry as like an icon of their profession. And yet all the while, she was evidently this hardcore leftist activist who celebrates the death of people she disagrees with. That is disturbing just on an individual level about her, but also alarming for what it suggests about just how embedded and normalized radical left-wing extremism is in our modern mainstream media. At the end of the day, you will never catch me celebrating people's death, even if it's a CEO of a business or an organization I so strongly disagree with and I think is really harmful to the world, like Planned Parenthood or one of these LGBT groups trying to transition minors. I will never be celebrating deaths or murders of people just because they disagree with me, even when I think they're really harmful. So even if you feel that way about health insurance companies, which isn't necessarily completely fair, but your feelings are your feelings, still don't go down this dark path and start celebrating death. It's not good for you, it's not moral, and it's not going to make anything better. Seriously, explain to me how the murder of this healthcare CEO is going to improve life or healthcare for anyone. It's not. It's probably going to, if anything, just increase security costs for these companies and make them more on guard and hostile and skeptical. This whole story is disturbing in its own right. Like the video is just chilling and makes you really just scared about the world and where it's headed. But then the response to it online has been so deranged and so depressing. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below and make sure you're subscribed and don't forget to hit that like button while you're at it.